Hey guys, today I want to talk about gated communities versus non-gated communities. And by that I mean neighborhoods or what have you. And there also are apartment buildings that are not really gated communities, but they have a guard at the front door, and some places don't have guards, which pretty much lets people run amok because there's nobody to really complain to. You have to call a manager, things like that. But I want to get into these gated communities because a lot of people think that you get more for your money by moving into a gated community, and that's not always true with all gated communities. And I'm gonna go through this because here's the thing: a lot of people buy in these gated communities. You're actually better off renting in these gated communities because over time they tend to fall apart. People don't pay their dues. Some of the places go into bankruptcy. They sit around and you have to look at somebody's empty house with the grass overgrown across the place. And it's actually more common than what we think. And that person's not paying their dues either, nor is the bank paying the dues for these places. So things start to fall apart because they don't have enough money to keep the pool running or what have you. And it's not true in a lot of places. Some places will go after people as soon as they stop paying, and they'll foreclose on the place or whatever. And that's actually a good thing when that happens, because then it goes up for sale and somebody else gets it, or they what have you. Anyway, what I want to say is this: that a lot of these places that I've gone into used to be really, really nice places. They had beautiful pools and everything was really nice in there. And then COVID came along. People stopped paying things. One of the places that I used to go into used to have the outstanding pool. The place was pretty well kept. It wasn't perfect. There was some places that were falling apart, that were falling into bankruptcy. The places were overgrown. I guess the condo association had to take it upon themselves to try to get those places sold. They did, and then they sold them to some people that probably weren't people that you would want as your neighbors, because they started putting chickens in there, raising animals, and all kinds of other things that they weren't supposed to do, and they were breaking the condo rules. And they figured, well, I'm not going to pay any fines or anything like that, and they don't. And those are not the people that you want in there. There's high-end places, there's low-end places. Okay, a lot of the high-end places, those are the places where you get what you pay for. If you're going into a place where you're paying $600 or more per month, okay, those are the places where you get what you pay for. If you're going into a place and you're paying $350, $400, $500, those places tend to have more problems. Not always, but they do. The lower you go, the more problems you're going to have. Now, it's also the condo association. It's also the manager of the place that are in charge of these places. And a lot of times they get threatened by people that are in there. They get, it's a really tough job to be a manager there. Never mind the guards. The guards are a whole different problem all by themselves. Some of the guards get corrupted. Hey, listen, I got 16 people coming in. Can you let them in? Here's 500 pesos, or here's 200 pesos. Make sure you let them up to my apartment. Just keep quiet. Don't tell the manager. And some of them will do it because it's extra money in their pocket, and they'll do it. And then you got a neighbor having parties up there. So it's all about the guards, the management, everything. And trust me, you want to go into these places to look, and you don't know what's going to happen to these places a year or two later. You might go into a place that's brand spanking new. And I've gone into a place here that's brand spanking new in town here. Brand spanking new. And I've seen some problems in there. They're not fixing some things. They keep the pool nice, and they know that they're selling places in there, so they try to keep it as good as they can. But there's some hidden things in there that you start to notice. It's like, man, they're not really taking care of this place like they should. They just take care of the places where people are walking and the things that people can see. But outside of the average person's eye that's going in there to buy a place, there's a lot of things they don't see. And if you walk around enough and you say, hey, can I go take a look around? I want to walk around here and walk around on the sides, check out things. You start noticing things are crumbling or falling apart or what have you. That's another thing. Also, if you get into these places and there's a lot of bankruptcies and stuff, especially if it's an apartment building, that's another issue, because your condo fees can go up suddenly. I actually owned a place in South Carolina one time, and 72 of the places were owned by one guy. The guy went into bankruptcy. All 72 places were in bankruptcy. The condo fees went from about $100 to like about $400 really quick. Now, most people would say, man, that's terrible. And it was. And I saw an opportunity also. The opportunity was, it was a time to buy. Those places, because there was 72 of them on the market, were selling for about $12,000. And they were worth about $65,000 at the time. So guess what? I bought some, and I told some friends about them too. And I recommended them online. They started getting bought. People started buying them. And guess what? The condo fees came down, and I got a great price, and the place was worth $65,000. You know, and you couldn't beat that. That's a deal. There are opportunities also in these places, like I said, but you have to look for those opportunities. And sometimes those opportunities are not opportunities in the Philippines, because in the Philippines, it doesn't work the same way, and people don't look at things the same as we do in the U.S. You know, so we tend to have a different eye and a different way of dealing with things in the U.S. than people in the Philippines. When people start seeing something falling apart, especially a condo association and a gated community, they kind of look at it like, well, it's just going to get worse. And usually that's true. Usually it does get worse. Usually the condo fee the condo association and the condo management never comes back to what they were before. It's very difficult for places here to get back to where they once were unless you have everybody on board and you have condo meetings regularly to keep things up, and you have everybody all on board, and you never get people all on board because people here just don't have the money like people in the U.S. People in the U.S. tend to have a little bit more money than people in the Philippines, so more people are likely to join on with everybody else and say, hey, let's clean this place up. This is the problem with gated communities versus like private homes or what have you. And also places like mine, these here. Okay, we have 4 places in a row here, and these places go for $80. And I've seen condos right around here going for $400 or $500 a month, and all you get basically is a pool, and you get a guard, and you don't even get a place to exercise except for a place to walk around in some of these places. And another place, there's plenty of places to walk around. And yes, it's gated. People won't bother you when you're walking because it's kind of quiet around there. But the place isn't always taken care of really that well because they go through management quite often. Their rules are kind of tough. They have guards that are corrupt and let people in sometimes and that shouldn't be in there. And the guards themselves do not follow the rules that they're supposed to be following. And usually they just get a slap on the wrist and they're back to work, or somebody else takes their place that's just as bad and is willing to take money from people. And this is a problem with, and I've seen this firsthand. So this is something I've seen firsthand where I've seen people, you know, when I got here 6 years ago, it was something I noticed because a friend of mine, Mike, was telling me that the guards there all take money if you want to get something done, so you don't have to worry about anything. And I was like, wow, you know, is that a place you really want to be in if you can corrupt these guys and let things slide? You know, you're supposed to be 2 people at the pool, pay the guard. You can have 6 people at the pool, 10 people at the pool maybe. And also it depends on the place you're at too. Some places will allow pool parties, and they also have places that you can have a party there, but you have to pay for it, and you get it for so long, and they get to use the pool and all that, and that's great. If you can get into a place like that, there's actually quite a few places like that in the Philippines, but there's a lot of places that don't have that. They have like a little hall where you can go in, you can cook in there, you can have birthday parties. Those are the types of places that are actually better for people that like to have friends over, or you have a large group that you hang out with or something like that, or you belong to the Elks, or maybe an expat group or something you want over, or VFW or American Legion over here, and you want a bunch of guys to come over and have a party. But it's also great to have a place like what we have here. I mean, for $80 a month, I get all the benefits of having people over here too. And we just buy some chairs and set them up and set up some picnic tables or whatever. And we got 30 people over here having a barbecue. It's a lot of fun. But remember, you get what you pay for here sometimes, and sometimes you don't. Now, remember what I just said. Sometimes you get what you pay for, and sometimes you don't. I think, like I said, the more you pay, if you're paying $700, $800, $900 a month here in the Philippines, a lot of people say, "Well, Steve, I can't afford that." There are guys here that can afford that, and they love those places. And I've seen them, and they're nice, they're clean. They come out and cut your lawn. The guards are great. They collect your packages. They do everything for you. And then there's other places where they will not do that. Okay, so it's like I said, each place is different. Don't think just because you're going into a gated community, the place is going to be great. I've gone into some pretty raunchy looking gated communities around here where they were terrible, and the people didn't have to keep their houses up. They didn't, or anything. In some places, they go out and they look at your place and they say, "Okay, you need a paint job." Okay, now I like that. If I need a paint job on my house, I'll paint it. I'll have somebody come out and paint it, so to keep up the value of my property. Some people don't care, so you're in a community where you're caring about your property, but other people don't. But if the condo association gets on these people and wants to keep all the places looking basically the same, and sometimes even the same color and stuff like that, there's certain rules you have to abide by. And I myself would want to be in a community where all the places look nice, all the places are clean, all the places are kept and landscaped and gardened or whatever. No dogs are barking, no chickens are cock-a-doodle-doing at 4 o'clock in the morning or what have you. That's what you want. I'm not saying a place with no pets. I'm saying a place where if the pet's a nuisance and bothering people, that's not a place that I would want to be in. You have to have rules on dogs too, and that can be tough. So you gotta weigh out what you want. Go in there, check it all out. There was a place far on the other side of General Trias I was in, and it had a water tower. The homes there were really beautiful. It was quiet. It was quiet all the time there. Every time I went there was no parties going on. People were allowed to have parties, but they had to have it in like their community center or whatever you called it there. And that was actually kind of nice because they kept it. They had that in an area where it was kind of quiet and it didn't bother too many people. And the community area was also the place where you had the pool. And that made it nice because you could have your friends use the pool, and also you were sharing with the people there, but the community center was something that you could rent on your own for your party. And that's what made it really wonderful to have I'm a person, I like to have people over once in a while and have a little party, a little get together, a barbecue or something like that, and then listen to some music or something, and just put your hair down and let everything, just hang out with your buddies. Have a few drinks or whatever, and just chat and talk and have a good time. Who doesn't want to have that? I know there are guys out there that don't like to do that, but, when you're looking at these places, like I said, always really look at the rules before you buy into these places. Don't just go in and buy one. I know guys that have bought places here, and after they bought them, number one, they hated them. Not only did they hate it, they couldn't even sell the place if they tried. Because they paid such a high price for it, and then they try to get rid of it. And the place has tons of new ones in there that they're trying to get rid of, and they can't even get rid of those ones too. And the condo association starts to have issues. Not enough stuff's coming in, not enough money. They go to the builder who's trying to sell these places, or the investors or whatever. They say, "Hey, we need more money to keep the place up, otherwise it's going to fall into disrepair." And sometimes these guys don't have enough money to cover all that, so the place starts to fall into disrepair. They have to sell them for less. Nobody wants them. Nobody wants to move in there because the place looks like a dump. Who wants that? That's why sometimes you're better off just getting your own place. There's always places with a pool around. If you guys like pools, there's plenty of places. There's hotels that will let you in there for 150 pesos, 200 pesos a day for each person you want to bring in there or whatever. And how often do you use the pool? If you use it every day, you definitely want to get a place with a pool, but you definitely want to get a place that's going to be well run too. And that's the key. Well managed and well run also by the condo association. and your dues and stuff are not that super high. Also, you can get, you know, private residences, houses, things like that. If you're married here, and you and your wife want to get a private residence or something, sometimes that's the way to go. I myself think that if you're over here, unless you've been with somebody for like over 10 years, but if you met somebody over here and you're just freshly married, sometimes I don't know if I would run out and get a place, like a home or something like that, because you might end up losing it. If you go through a divorce, a fight, or what have you, and a lot of guys don't understand that over here, people think differently. You know, families start telling the person, hey, you know what? There's some money there. We could take this house and sell it. Just dump him. You know, that's the way some people work here. Some families are like that. I've seen a guy here. The guy constantly gets hounded for money. Constantly. It never stops, and he's always calling me, telling me about what goes on. And I hear it from other guys too sometimes. The families are they're nags. They start nagging these people to the point where it gets crazy. Be careful of that. And that's why I tell people sometimes, a condo, at least it's half in your name, or it could be fully in your name. A house, it can be in her name, and if she dies, then it'll pass on to you, stuff like that. That's the only way you could really own the house, I believe. I'm not totally sure about that, but I know you can't own property here. You can't own land, okay? So your wife can own land, so it kind of messes you up, but you can own condos. So sometimes condos are the way to go. Believe me, if you're gonna get a home and put it in your wife's name, do a prenuptial with an attorney and sit down to protect your rear end. You do not want to go out there and leave everything in her name, because you don't know what's going to happen. You need a prenuptial in case something happens, so that way there, if you get a divorce or something, or annulment over here, if you get an annulment, you're all set. You're protected. Anyway, guys, God bless. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's show. There's a lot. If you guys have any comments you want to leave there, or you know, I know a lot of people on here like to leave comments about their experience and stuff like that. Leave your experiences on here, because it helps other guys too. Because a lot of these condo associations are not as good as people think. Just because that's new, sometimes like I said, within a year or two, the place falls apart. God bless, guys. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's show.